very much. Good morning. Glad to have you all here today. Welcome to Commerce Lexington's Conversation. It's a new concept. If you'll remember, several years ago, we had a university president named Dr. Lee T. Todd, and he said everything begins with a conversation. So let's begin our conversation this morning. I'd like to recognize our conversation partners. Bullard, I think, where are they? Hello, glad to have you, thank you. We have Kentucky Utilities, good morning, and South Central Bank. All right. Thank you all for sponsoring, for being here this morning, and for allowing us to do this, to take on this conversation. Thanks to all of you for joining us this morning. I hope your breakfast and your networking went along well. Before we get started, I do have a couple folks I would like to recognize. Lexington Council members that are here: Hannah Legree, Brenda Menares, Liz Sheehan, thank you very much. Kevin Atkins, I see you. Yep, over there, great. State Reps, George Brown, Dan Pfister, Kim King, Killian Timoney, James Tipton. State Senators, Donald Douglas, Greg Elkins, Reggie Thomas, and a Fayette County School Board member, Amy Green. Federal officials with us here today: Tatum Dale, Congressman Andy Barr's office, and Stephanie Nelson, Senator Mitch McConnell's office. Let's give all of our guests a round of applause. Thank you. Let's just jump right into it. With 25 years experience as a Money Watch client, Steve joined the firm at the beginning of 2017. Prior to joining the team, Steve was the Assistant Vice President for Government Relations at the University of Kentucky for almost 13 years, and has developed a passion for helping people achieve their own financial independence. Steve's a certified financial planner professional, holds a Bachelor of Arts degree in economics from the College of Worcester in Worcester, Ohio, and he's got a superstar son that is playing lacrosse there. I think probably one of the top guys in the league from everything I hear. He serves on the boards of directors of the YMCA of Central Kentucky, God's Pantry Food Bank, and Commerce Lexington. He serves as our 2024 chair. Steve, come on up. Give Steve a round of applause. He puts a lot of time into Commerce Lexington. Thank you.
Coffee first. Can't do anything without coffee. Thanks, Bob. We all know how important post-secondary education is to our region. The institutions themselves, of course, are economic drivers, but the other institutions are so important to the economic development work that we do in the Greater Lexington area, and of course, workforce development. So it's with that in mind that we have two wonderful guests today, both of whom are new to their jobs, but they're not new to Greater Lexington, and they're certainly not new to Commerce Lexington either. Dr. Greg Feeney became the president of Bluegrass Community and Technical College in December, or just a few months ago. He's new in that role, of course, but he had been at BCTC for 25 years, serving as the provost before becoming president. I will say one of the most impressive things I've ever heard about Greg is that when he interviewed before the faculty and staff on campus, the kind of the public part of the interview, he received a standing ovation. And having worked on a college campus, I know that faculty don't applaud anything, ever. So that is extremely impressive. Also, Dr. Ryan Quarles became the president of the Kentucky Community and Technical College System. That's the last time I'm going to say that. In January of this year, the first native Kentuckian to serve as head of KCTCS. He, of course, is no stranger to us, serving as the Commissioner of Agriculture for 2 terms and serving in the House of Representatives for 3 terms before that from Georgetown, serving our region. I will age myself a little bit here in that I have known Dr. Quarles since before he was a doctor. I have known Dr. Quarles since before he had his Juris Doctor. I knew Dr. Quarles before he had his master's or undergraduate degrees. He was just a really, really smart guy walking around the University of Kentucky campus. Please help me welcome Dr. Feeney and Dr. Quarles. Thank you both for being here very much. Let me start with a question for both of you. On a scale of 1 to 10, how happy are you to not have a basketball team?
KCTCS Pathfinders are undefeated.
Ryan, let me start with you. So for those who are unfamiliar, can you give us an overview of what KCTCS is? It's really broad and really deep across the state, so give us an overview of what the system is.
So KCTCS is the largest higher education entity in Kentucky with 100,000+ students, 16 colleges, one of which is BCTC, 70 campus locations, and nearly 4,000 employees. And so we have a geographic footprint. Literally, if we're not in the county, we're right next door. And so since House Bill 1, when Governor Patton had the shotgun wedding to merge our technical schools with our community colleges, 29 entities merged to 16 in 1997, that by law, we are the premier community college, vocational, and technical apparatus in higher education in Kentucky.
So since you have arrived, I know you've been spending a lot of time out around the state. Can you tell us what you found when you arrived at the system and what you are discovering as you travel around the state?
Well, today we visit 15 of 16 colleges, and I got to say, BCTC I think may be the best. That's right. That's right. Plus, I took classes there when I was a student at UK. What I'm hearing is that the workforce and business community is dependent upon the community colleges, and that we have a lot of great relationships. We have relationships with just shy of 5,000 companies in our state. That's a good starting point. We've got to do more. The other thing that I'm hearing is that if you grew up either in rural or urban Kentucky, but I'll talk rural because that's what I relate to very well, if not for that community college, they may have never gone on to go to college. They may have never gone on to transfer to UK or another 4-year degree program. And so the community presence is valued. And secondly, it's about access, that there's untold number of Kentuckians that can't afford to move to a city. They can't, people like my dad who couldn't afford a dorm room. My dad had a cot and lived in the greenhouse of the biology building at UK because he couldn't afford a dorm. There's a lot of people out there that if not for the community colleges, they may never go on and get a bachelor's degree or become a surgeon or engineer. They're dependent upon us.
So Dr. Feeney, your situation is different than Dr. Quarles. He's new. You're new in your role, but you're certainly not new to BCTC, having been there for a long time. Tell us about your transition to president and how the different roles that you've played at BCTC over the years helped you prepare for this.
Absolutely. So we had an award ceremony, a student award ceremony last night, which is one, we get to the graduation time of the year, everyone's a little tired, but we're also really excited about it because the students are excited about it and it recognizes all the success and achievement. Well, last night we had some student speakers, but we had a phenomenal faculty speaker who her presentation centered around a word, cottywomple. So it's an English term. She said it with an English accent. I'm not going to do that in front of this crowd. But what it means is to move forward with determination and to be very intentional, but you don't necessarily have a goal out there. You're intentional with your work every day, and in the activity that you're doing with what's in front of you, that describes my career. So when I started there 26 years ago, I never had the intention of ending up in a role like this. I loved teaching. And to me, that's the foundation of what makes me good in this role right now, is that interaction with students, the opportunity to work with a student in your classroom who has a 36 on their ACT, and somebody who started their journey in GED or tested it at the 8th grade level in the same class. And you work with them to support them. And so I've meandered here and there just in various roles, and I would say every single one of those roles has made me better and more prepared and given me a real passion for our mission and what we do, which I think has strengthened my preparedness for this role. A couple things that I do want to highlight. One is I am very grateful for serving as provost. I would say before that role in the Cottywample journey, I don't know that I would have felt like I was prepared for this role. And so the last time the position was open before this one, I did not apply because I didn't feel like I was the best fit. I felt like our college needed a different leader. But serving in that role, getting to know a lot of our community members, expanding my work at the college, really strengthened my skill set and put me in a different position to learn a lot more about our college. And one thing that I gained that's very specific that relates to this crowd is my work with industry, specifically with Workforce Solutions, which is our customized training area of the college, because that's such a creative way for us to take our portfolio, what we have to offer, and support industry needs. So that's kind of my long answer of just the journey of how I ended up here, but every single one of those roles has informed me and made me a better leader in this role.
Yeah, I know it's just been a few months, but have you been surprised by anything? What have you learned in the first few months that may be different from a different perspective?
You know, I've had enough experience at the college. There's been nothing that's been shocking. What I've really enjoyed is that the relationship that I have with the team and the folks that are there, I feel very blessed in that I felt like it was strong. I think it's so much stronger than I was even aware of, because we have really come together. And I've been in the role for 149 days. He always gives us days, so I was ready for mine.
Today's 118.
But before that, I was in an interim role, and so in that entire period, we've really come together. And you always joke about a workplace being family, and it can sound trite. And we have our days where maybe we don't like each other, but we are all tied to that mission, and we work hard. And so what's been a pleasant, not a surprise, but a really nice reminder is just how dedicated the folks are, and how well we work together, and that we've come together during this time. We've had a lot of transition. We had a short presidency before us. We didn't expect it to be that short. And many of us were very happy with the direction that the college was going. We had made some significant improvements. That was one of my main reasons for going this role, is I did not want us to step off course. I've been there long enough to see it. And the team didn't want that either.
So, Dr. Quarles, you've mentioned recently that KCTCS, quote, should own the community college space, the vocational, technical, and transfer component, and have a special tool in the toolbox for workforce development. Tell us about that.
Let me tell you a fact. 56% of Kentuckians age 18 to 64 who are able-bodied, non-disabled are working right now. We need to be closer to 70. We need more people in the workforce. And not only do we need more people in the workforce, we need people who are skilled and educated in the workforce. And so my viewpoint is that KCTCS should have 3 goals that we never compromise on. Number 1 is access, which I mentioned earlier. We've got to be there for Kentuckians. Number 2 is affordability. Got to make sure we don't price ourselves out of the market. We're the price point leader in higher education in Kentucky. But number 3 is workforce. It's something that the General Assembly wants us to focus on, my Board of Regents, the Cabinet for Economic Development, the governor. They want us to all work on workforce. And so America needs more people who work with their hands, period. And that's why we value that valuable transfer component, the gen eds. You know, there will be high school students in Lexington who will be graduating with an associate's degree from BCTC before they graduate high school. That is incredible, and we're glad they're part of our program. But another big mission for us is that we have got to provide the vocational and technical aspects for the businesses, employers, and industries of Kentucky. The two biggest industries in our state are manufacturing. That's number one, with over 250,000 employees. Number two is agriculture. You combine those together, that's 40% of all the jobs in Kentucky are manufacturing and agriculture. We need more welders, HVAC, electricians, aviation mechanics. Here at BCTC, they have a program, only 1 in 5 in the country, of a prosthetics program where we have students literally 3D printing artificial limbs right now. That's happening right here in Lexington at BCTC. So when I talk about workforce, it's about meeting the needs of our employers, listening to the needs of our employers, and then secondly, being nimble. We've got to have the opportunity to pivot, that if an industry is coming to Kentucky, that we need to be the first phone call that business makes when they're wanting to locate here, expand here, or more importantly lately, to stay here. That our community college system should be part of the economic development strategy of Kentucky. In many ways, we already are. That it used to be when companies are looking to locate, do you have water, electricity, broadband? Now it's about labor, and do you have skilled labor? And so we want to make sure that we're the partner that businesses have, and I hope everyone in this room has a partnership with BCTC. I'm sure you do. But we want to be part of the discussion about economic development in Kentucky. And here's the other thing. You don't have to bring your employees to us. We will go to your business with workforce solutions, with customized training. And so that's the vision that I have: access, affordability, and workforce. That we have a workforce crisis in our state. Let's lean on the statewide footprint that KCTCS has to work with our employers to get more Kentuckians back to work.
So you mentioned the student who could get was it a credential or an associate's degree before graduating from high school. How does that work?
So we have at our college what we call Bluegrass College Academies. So we have it here in Lexington, Georgetown, Winchester, Lawrenceburg, and soon coming to a community near you. But in those communities, we're very intentional on providing enough dual credit and then advising the students where they can complete that associate's if they start at a minimum at their junior year. And we're very specific with what that path is for the next 4 semesters. That number has grown every year. And so at each one of those locations I mentioned, it varies a bit. Like here in Lexington, which is Exhibit A, we have a high school on our campus. And so they take high school classes there on our campus, and then they also take the dual credit, which counts for both. In Georgetown and in Winchester and Lawrenceburg, it's just their college classes, their dual credit on our campus. But at each one of those locations, the number has gone up every year on the number of students. The last 5 years, every year the number of students that are completing that associate's before they graduate high school. Saving, depending on where they're going to a 4-year institution, between $23,000 and $50,000. So I like for parents to know that. For kids, how I try to make it real is, Mom and Dad could buy you a car. And then their eyes light up and their interest goes. But it's a significant amount of money.
So you, Dr. Feeney, you have 7 campuses in the Greater Lexington area. Can you tell us where they are, what they do, how they work together?
Sure. So all the campuses that we have represent what our portfolio is. So that's anything from the traditional classes that are for credit to our customized training, which is workforce solutions. Also, those facilities serve as more and more all the time a hub for our community. So it's a facility that if we have a great partnership with the YMCA. So they use our facility for several events. That does a couple things for us. It gets people on our campus, the community, but also it's a great recruiting tool. But the programs vary by each campus. Currently we have 3 here in Lexington. We have a manufacturing facility that is phenomenal in Georgetown. It's state of the art. We have people flying in from all over the world, literally, to see that facility. But also in recent years, in our partnership with Scott County Schools, which has been phenomenal, we've upped our game and our enrollment in Gen Ed there as well. And so that's where one of our Bluegrass academies is at. Lawrenceburg has an emphasis in health, and we also have a new diesel program that's there where the enrollment has been very strong. And Danville has manufacturing and a focus on nursing. And then Winchester has experienced recently the greatest amount of growth, and that's because we received some federal dollars to expand our nursing program. BCTC alone has 473 nursing students. So we're competing with UK with that number, our scrappy little college. I just love it. But it takes, that led to a lot of community support. Another program that we're seeing more and more on each one of those campuses because there's a need, and it's new for us, is paramedic. So we currently have paramedic on 2 of those campuses, working on the 3rd.
For both of you, we'll start with you, Dr. Quarles. Legislative session just ended. Let's talk about the budget first. How was the budget for KCTCS and then also for BCTC?
I think we did quite well, and I want to say thank you to Chairman Tipton. Here's House Education Chair is with us today. I know Representative Kim King is here somewhere, and I apologize if I missed somebody in the audience. But I started January 1st. General Assembly started January 2nd. Okay, so not much honeymoon. So I was in the halls of Frankfurt with my tin cup, asking for cash almost every day. But we have to be strategic about this. We have a big footprint. There's expectations for changes with KCTCS. So we fared well with our operation budget. But let me tell you a couple other things going on in higher ed. Because of the tornadoes, the floods, and the inclement weather we've had, our insurance rates on our buildings went up 255% in 1 year. They were gracious enough to pick up the tab of our increased insurance cost. They gave us an inflationary adjustment supplement of $6.9 million. The cost of everything's going up right now. We're very appreciative of that. But let me focus on students. We have a scholarship called Work Ready in Kentucky. And this essentially provides a full ride scholarship for those students seeking degrees that relate to high demand areas in Kentucky, high demand job areas, so like nursing, manufacturing, business. They gave us $20 million, and we're very appreciative of that. And you start spreading that out as a last dollar scholarship, it covers a lot of Kentuckians, and so we're very appreciative of that. And the last thing on the budget is that they're wanting us to make some changes. And so we got a great first year budget, but of course Kentucky chooses to do a biennial budget. And so they gave us kind of an incentive package that if we make progress on certain areas, we'll get to unlock some asset preservation for the second year. But look, we've got 70 locations. A lot of our buildings were technical buildings that were built in the 1960s. They've been renovated and patched together in Band-Aid. And so we need to make sure that we have a conversation about right-sizing KCTCS, especially in the era of online course delivery where you need less physical space. And so we've got some real estate transactions to occur in the near future.
You took all the good stuff. I will say this, the one thing that I will add, we are very happy that the funding has continued with trains. If you're not familiar with trains, it's an acronym that stands for nothing, but it's all capital letters. But basically, it is money that has been allocated by the Assembly to support businesses that want to invest in their employees. So it covers 75% of the training costs. So all that the company needs to pitch in on is that 25%. One of the reasons I always love to bring this up, well, there's 2 main reasons. One is that it gives us support to directly support our industry partners, and anything that does that we are thrilled about. The second reason I like to bring it up is we are one of the top users of it. There was 4.1 million, I believe, in that fund this last year. Our college, in partnership with our industry partners, was the conduit for over 1 million of that. So that's out of the 16 colleges. So I'm very proud of Dr. Erin Tipton, her team, and the work that they did in serving our industry partners. We could always use more is my general answer. Though, if I look at our budget, we are 20% state funded, 47% tuition based. If you do the quick math, we're 33% short. That 33% short comes from our incredible community, the partnerships that we have here, and our incredible grant writing team. In the last couple of years, we're totaling about 20 million just in our grant writing. It takes a lot of intentional work. The reason why I joke and I'm a little serious about always wanting more is, we're at the end of a budget planning season for this next year. One thing I'm really proud about with our team is there's not one budget request that I looked at that I didn't think, this is gonna help us knock it out of the park. This is gonna take it up 2 or 3 notches. The painful part, we can't afford a lot of it, and we know it'll make a difference. Now, I grew up with a dad that was like, control what you can control, face forward, be positive. And so my response to that is, we got to work really hard at our college to get that money. We got to work with our community to provide that support, because we know it's going to make a difference and increase retention, increase success rates, get more employers out there. But if they wanted to increase that to 40%, I'd be really happy.
Good answer. So, Dr. Quarles, there was a Senate joint resolution that passed this past session and was signed by the governor that does a lot of different things, but it requires KCTCS to analyze findings of a study that I think is undergoing regarding programming and training offerings, program relevancy, a statewide KCTCS workforce plan, your geographic footprint, including potential mergers and consolidations, and the KCTCS funding model. In other words, everything. The way yes. I read it. Tell us more about it. What's the genesis of it and the process, and where is it headed?
Well, let me frame this up. When I started, there's somewhat of a crisis, not at the college levels, but at the Versailles office where our system is located. There's been some leadership struggles there. We had a state audit, which was completed last year, that finds 7 findings of improvements that we need to make, mainly financial decisions that were made. Our budget is just shy of $1.1 billion for the whole system. And the state auditor uncovered some things that need to be fixed. And so we fixed 4 of those 7. We also have a forensic audit that's going on right now that's going to legally determine about how around $100 million ended up where it's at the system office. These are good governance, let's fix it and move on. And so there's scrutiny upon KCTCS. That's the situation I walked into. And so the Senate Joint Resolution 179, which was just passed by both chambers, allows us to develop a path. We just celebrated 25 years of existence, from 1997 to now. A lot of great accomplishments there. We've educated over 1 million Kentuckians. Over 1 million Kentuckians have graduated and utilized our programs the last 25 years. We have to be prepared for the next 25 years. We know an enrollment cliff is going to face the United States due to low birth rates during the great financial recession. We got to make sure we're right-sized for that. There's an unfortunate narrative in America right now. You've heard this. Why should I go to college for 4 more years to get a degree that has little, if nothing, to do with the job I'm applying for, and oh, by the way, have student loan debt that follows me through the rest of my life? That's an unfortunate narrative. A lot of it, I think, is blown out of proportions, but that's not the narrative of KCTCS. And so the joint resolution that Senator Douglas and others voted for allows us to take a look for the next 25 years. And so in a very complex answer, it's time for us to evaluate ourselves. And so we're going to look at our program academic offerings. We have 700 different career opportunities across 16 colleges. That's awesome. But some of them may not be as relevant today as they were 15 or 20 years ago. And we need to expand in areas that we know are clear winners in Kentucky, like healthcare, that we are the biggest provider of nurses in the state of Kentucky. We need to make sure that we're picking up the baton where there's shortages. And I'll say something else that may be controversial. Not every Kentuckian needs to go to a 4-year college, but we need more Kentuckians completing a 4-year degree. And so we need to make sure that we are envisioning our system for the next 25 years that corrects the financial issues that occurred, right sizes our size across Kentucky, and also provides relevance with the offerings of our programs so that we better align with the business community. And that's why we're going to develop a statewide workforce plan, make sure that we're aligning with the needs of our employers as well. I think it's going to be fun, but whenever you grow, it can be awkward sometimes when you grow, but we've got to do it so we can prepare or future-proof ourselves for the next generation.
So a crisis is a terrible thing to waste, and you're looking at it as an opportunity, it sounds like.
Well, you know, I've always viewed challenges as an opportunity to innovate. I'm not a slash and burn type of leader, that if you want the best policy outcomes occur when you find innovation and reinvent yourself. And so we're going to be working with our presidents and our faculty and staff and workforce folks and everyone across the system that this is a once in a generation chance to do something cool and learn from other states. We want to make sure we get it right.
Were you leaning forward to add to that? Okay.
I'm always happy to talk.
Yeah, you're going to let him handle all that. So, Dr. Feeney, we talked about it before, but BCTC is so vital to our economic development efforts in the region. Talk about some of the things that you all do to support that work. There's the advanced manufacturing operation in Georgetown, for instance. 30 seconds away from Toyota, but serving others, apprenticeship programs, things like that.
I'll ramble on for a while on this. I will say that, and this reinforces what Dr. Quarles was just talking about, is we are only as strong as our ability to meet our community needs. And so you heard my budget talk before, and so it's within that context. But one thing that was a pivotal moment that happened, I remember the meeting distinctly. I won't mention who we were with, but this is, I think I was an academic dean at the time. We're meeting with an industry partner. It was the first kind of big meeting like that I had, and I went in with a group of faculty that related to that industry, and our folk, when they asked for what they needed, which was a big ask, our folks immediately panicked and said no. And I found it really embarrassing. And also that it doesn't fit with what our mission is. So when we walked out of that meeting, you know, we did a little regroup, and I said, we will never say no again, ever. And they were a little panicked, like, but we can't do everything. I'm like, well, we will be open about that journey. And so if we perceive that there's a wall, we won't say no, we'll say what the wall is, and then they can help us with it. We'll have their expertise. Maybe we're in our tunnel. Maybe they can provide some support. From that philosophy, we've upped our game in getting community support. So like our orthotics and prosthetics program started as a workforce training. We didn't even have that program when they asked for it. We did not say no. We did the homework, we figured it out, we worked with them. Then they wanted a full-fledged program. I don't know if you know much about that field. It is expensive because there's lots of equipment. They helped us with it. And so by not saying no, you strengthen your opportunity to serve that industry partner and do so in a stronger way and grow. So that relates to all the programs that we offer. And also with each one of our technical programs, we have what we call advisory boards. And that's where we have community members, industry partners, anyone that program impacts, we invite to be a member of, have representation on that board. And from that, we learn the relevancy of our curriculum, the opportunity to improve it and strengthen it. Where we're not meeting needs, we just had a recent meeting with Toyota, and they wanted us to emphasize one component of a section of the class a little bit more. We found that out from that advisory board. It's a quick fix. So if I look at, our portfolio and what we offer, those elements are very vital. That strong connection with our community partners and making sure, following up with our graduates, making sure that they feel like they had what they needed. So we often have alumni on those boards, in addition to current students, and then our industry partners, and if it's meeting their needs. And then if there's a program, and we have one right now, I'm not going to announce it here because we're still working on it, that it's not where it should be, and it's not meeting as strong of a need as it used to be. We've been doing the homework on it. We think we can meet that same need through another program. If we tweak that program a bit, that's going to save us some money and allow us to reinvest to meet the greater needs that we have in other areas. So that's the work that we do, I would say, on every campus with what we offer.
President Quarles, you need to keep him around.
He's great.
For both of you, and Ryan, you touched on this before, so many students use the community college as their entry point into post-secondary and as a stepping stone to a 4-year degree. And not everybody needs to do that, but it is a pathway for those that want it. BCTC and UK, of course, have had a partnership like that for a long time. In fact, BCTC students can even live on the UK campus while they're attending BCTC. Can you talk more, each of you, about the transfer process in general and sticky points that may still be there? Because I know there always are. The state's been working on this for 20 years or more. And then also a recent announcement you had with KCTCS and Ohio University.
So I'll cover kind of high level here. So the more partnership agreements we have with other education institutions, the better off we're going to be. Now, we need to make sure that that is as seamless as possible. There's a lot of students, particularly ones that we serve, that it just takes one speed bump, one issue, and they stop their journey. And so we need to make it as seamless as possible. And so we're actually working on re-upping a statewide partnership with UK right now. I've met with President Capilouto on that. We are working with others, but also Kentucky has a lot of border states. I was in Hopkinsville yesterday. We have a reciprocity agreement with Clarksville, Tennessee, so those students can seamlessly take our classes, the in-state tuition. Obviously in northern Kentucky at the greater Cincinnati area, be in Maysville this afternoon. So we serve a lot of counties where students are coming across the border. So it's important for us to have as seamless a transfer as possible to reduce students from having to retake classes, spend money twice, or have an unfortunate experience that causes them to say, I'm done, I don't want to finish this. And so there are some sticky points. And so when we offer a class, it's up to the receiving institution to decide if they're going to accept that credit. And we do hear of stories where students may have taken certain classes and it doesn't transfer. And so one of the aspects of Senate Joint Resolution 179 is for us to kind of create that good and naughty list, and which classes are on that naughty list that keep causing transfer stickiness to institutions. And that's something the General Assembly, I think they want to have a seamless transfer for just about everyone in the state. We'll get there, but we're in the partnership business right now, and I'm excited about what we're going to come up with the UK statewide.
So I'll give a few specifics, and then one general thing that I'd like to mention that I think is always a part of this conversation, and I've seen it in the 26 years that I've been at the college, is that there is a bit of a stigma. I kind of like it. Like, I like being perceived as the underdog. The most recent data I've seen, and I haven't seen anything too recently, but students who start at a community college graduate with a higher GPA at a 4-year than the students who started there. It doesn't surprise me because of the work that we do, and not just on curriculum, but also on making them a better student, what it means to be a good student, all the wraparound services and support that we have. So that's a general thing, that in addition to working on these partnerships and strengthening those and having agreements, we also need to be intentional on working on that stigma and making sure that we're telling our story and how prepared our students are by the time that they transfer. We have strong partnerships with many four-year institutions, both in and out of state. Most of the in-state is so strong that they have advisors that are on our campus. They hold hours on our campus. They work with our students. We have what we call a transfer area or a transfer center, and she coordinates that. I am particularly proud because it's relatively new, and it is just Exhibit A on when good people come together on how quickly you can do something. Is we have a partnership with UK in engineering technology. That's a new bachelor's degree for them in two different areas. It's for us, it's computer engineering technology and integrated engineering technology. We have all kinds of 2+2s. What makes this one unique, UK does not offer the first 2 years of the program. It's a true partnership. So all students, regardless of where they're at, they do their first 2 years with us. There's many reasons why I like this. Is it strengthens our partnership. It's also a very good use of community dollars, taxpayer dollars, because we're doing what we do best, each of us in this relationship. The community support for this program has been so strong in supporting it financially, as well as being mentors and scholarships. It's just been phenomenal. And the success with that in the enrollment in that program is very neck and neck with nursing as far as our fastest growing area. And that demonstrates that close relationship with industry and how relevant it is. The reason it came together so quickly, we got this program up within a year, which in academia, this is one of the things that just drives me nuts, but that's considered really fast. But we had really good people working on it, and people, leadership and faculty that were very intentional. And I think that the more that we do that, like any relationship you have, whether it's in the community or whether it's with a four-year partner for us, you don't take it for granted, you're very intentional on it, you strengthen those relationships, so when you sit down at the table to work on the curriculum and folks start to get territorial, it's based on a good relationship. And we need to have that to serve our community well.
As a good segue into what I was about to ask anyway, and that is, how do you work with other four-year institutions, particularly from a workforce perspective? There's a different role for the KCTCS institutions than there are the 4 years. How do you all find those opportunities to work together?
Oftentimes they come to us, and I'm kind of the newbie here, but we had a great meeting with UK, and obviously they're in the expansive mode right now with healthcare. They need a lot of nurses, but also the other folks that keep hospitals running, like the technicians, like surgical techs, et cetera. We're having a hard time finding people that want to teach sometimes in nursing. So when you talk about workforce, here's a great situation. Whether it's Baptist, whether it's other entities, St. E up north, they need our graduates. They need our graduates. We have a 6,000 shortage of nurses right now. We're going to help provide that training and get them there. So here's a partnership on workforce. Oftentimes they pay the tuition or they pay for a new simulator. I've been calling them mannequins. I've been politely corrected many times. They cost $100,000, okay? They're not cheap. They're supplying that, or an ambulance service, or a county's donating an ambulance to us so our students can train in that. That's partnership one. Partnership two is that we're providing the training. We are focusing on an area of the economy that is in severe need, and then that's number two. Number three is that the student gets a well-paying job on the outside. And so in some cases, we can tell students, if you take, say, our surgical tech program, where you're actually working with surgeons, not only are you getting a guaranteed job, but in some cases you're getting a $25,000 or $30,000 starting bonus with 2 years with us. That's amazing. And then take it to the next level. If, say, UK or Baptist or whoever has a cohort of nurses that are phasing out or burnt out and say, I'd like to return to the classroom, we want to have that partnership where, yeah, maybe they spend half time at UK Hospital, half time with us teaching, and and we figure out a financial arrangement that's best for everybody. So it's a win-win, and please don't think that this is just a healthcare discussion. I know there's other folks in the room here today that are eager for employees. If you'd like to have a similar conversation with us, let's do it today.
I don't know that I can add a lot to that outside of just going back to the importance of relationships and making sure that you're talking with folks, but not just waiting on them to come to you. That, we have two of our workforce folks here. They're knocking on doors, literally sometimes, I think. To make sure that our industry partners know that we're here and what they need, and then depending on what those needs are, if we can't offer them, it's not that we walk away, we then partner. So it could be that we partner with another KCTCS school to support that need. It could be that we partner with one of our four-year partners to support that need. But that's, again, it comes back to making sure that all those relationships are strong.
For both of you, ask you to put on do the crystal ball thing for a bit. What does the future of higher education and your institutions look like? The challenges and opportunities, that's a very broad question, but you all are probably, in what you do, you are more nimble just by nature, by design, than the four-year institutions are. So look out 2 or 3 years, and what changes?
A couple things. Number one, we have to be the primary leader on workforce development. We already are, and that's great, but we need to take it to the next level to make sure that our relevancy shines with our employers every single day. Number two, we had a great discussion this week with an economist that kind of studies higher education nationally. We're overprogrammed in America. Right now, some people believe that there's 20% excess capacity in higher education right now in the United States. We mentioned the enrollment cliff coming. That's going to affect everybody. The best way for KCTCS to insulate ourselves from the enrollment cliff is two things. The relevancy of our programs, where students are like, oh my gosh, you mean I don't have to go to school for 4 years? You can get a CDL license in 5 or less weeks and come out making a great wage. And so we're going to insulate ourselves two ways. We're going to promote, expand, correct, or sunset programs that may not be that relevant, and make sure that we have exciting degree programs that lead to employment. And then number two, we're going to highlight student success. That the starting salaries for some of these jobs are incredible. 50, 60, 70,000. I've met students whose starting salary after 2 years with us is $100,000 a year, being electricians, welders, etc. So that's point number two. The third point is that I think there's going to be a conversation in our country about the value of higher education that's already going on right now. And that it may be time for us to take a serious look at the role of apprenticeships in America. That's something that other countries are taking very seriously. The other thing that we need to be really mindful of is making sure that in Kentucky that we are serving areas that are absolutely dependent upon us. And so as we make changes, we need to make sure that we don't give up the fact that we are a community partner, community presence in our state. And just real quick, I just want, out of curiosity, raise your hand if you've ever taken a class at a community college in Kentucky, and look around the room. That includes me. Well, yesterday was our day of giving, so if you raise your hand, you need to make a donation to us. The link still works, even though yesterday was the giving day, so please give back.
Sorry, Greg. Describe what the enrollment cliff is, because not everybody may know what that is.
Well, you're going to hear about it. So again, great financial recession that occurred back in 2008, 2009-esque, birth rates went down. Birth rates went down in the United States, which means there's less high school students preparing to graduate from high school, which means the pipeline for higher education is being contracted. And so there's well over 3,000 higher education institutions in the United States of America. There's 1,000 community colleges. They're all going to be competing for a smaller pool of what we consider traditional students, meaning straight out of high school. And so those institutions that don't become nimble, who don't make corrections or prepare for this, will have financial issues. And right now, about 25 to 30 colleges and universities shut their doors in the United States of America every year. We want to make sure that we're not on that list, but to prepare ourselves, we have to make sure we're right-sized. And one other thing, we're not just talking about high school students. We are proud of the fact that we are teaching GEDs. KCTCS is the largest GED provider in the state of Kentucky. We're proud of that. We are intentionally in our rehab and recovery centers. We're teaching classes to those who have been affected by the scourge of addiction. And third, half of our 16 colleges are in our jails and prisons right now, helping Kentuckians who are exiting the criminal justice system come out with a skill so they're less likely to go back to jail. And so for us, the enrollment cliff isn't just about promoting more in the high schools, but it's about making sure that we are enrolling all Kentuckians of all backgrounds, regardless of age, regardless of adversity or personal life journeys. And that's how we prepare ourselves for something that I think is going to be really dramatic nationwide over the next 5 years.
It's dangerous to correct your boss, so I'm going to clarify.
Thank you.
Give to BCTC. So I just want to add that.
Oh, yeah.
So when you hit that link, we are your community college. Give to BCTC. I'm glad I got to go second on that one.
See Mark Manuel before you go. Raise your hand, Mark.
There you go.
So one story that I'd love to add here that I wanted to share today, it happened yesterday. Shelby Hugel is here, and she heads up our communication area. And I thought she was just doing this to torture me when she was doing this cookies with Feeney thing, and I was going to every campus and giving students cookies, but the students have loved it, and the faculty and staff have loved it. So I learned from that experience, right? But I had the best moment of that entire thing, and we concluded it yesterday in Winchester, is we're walking through the building, we're done, and we notice a student sitting in like a little concession area at a table. She appears to be in the 25 plus category. I peeked my head around the corner. I'm so grateful this happened. And I said, would you like some cookies? And she said, yes. I'm like, all right, I ran out. I'm going to run upstairs, grab some. I'll be right back. I came back with 4 and I said, you had to wait. So here's 4 cookies. I sat down with her though at the table and had a conversation with her. And I said, so tell me what you're doing. She said, I'm in my first semester of GED. And I said, how's that going? I was thrilled to hear this, raved about her instructor, the difference that he was making because she was taking a shuttle there. She didn't have a car, and the shuttle doesn't pick her up in time to get there by the start of class. The teacher didn't care. She's an hour late every day, and he works with her. I thought it was phenomenal. We talked further, and I asked what she was going to do next after she was done with her GED. She said what she wanted to do. I asked her why she wanted to do it. It's in the social work area. She started crying, and she said, well, I'm homeless, and I'm struggling, and I don't want anybody else to be in this position, and I want to help them through it. And so what kind of broke my heart is that we had a student that wasn't aware of our services, and we work on promoting these all the time. Where I'm very grateful is we sat there and talked for probably 20 minutes. We had a student intern with us who was recording it because we're doing another project, and I had asked her and we started recording it. We will not use that recording because we got very serious with it. But when we walked out of the room, the student intern started crying, and she said, I've never witnessed anything like that before. And I said to her, this is what we have the privilege of doing. You talk about access. We are that conduit, and it sounds like we're getting numbers here and there, but that was a real human being right in front of us that an hour later had housing because of our incredible team, right? So it was one conversation. But that's what we do as a college. So it sounds like numbers and we're doing this and that, but I'm telling you, like, when you have a moment like that, it only makes me want to work harder, increase our partnerships, do whatever we can do to get the support to help people like that. That woman is so hungry to not only make her own life better, but to make other lives better.
Do you all have data on the amount of food insecurity among your students?
We do. It's significant. So we've had different numbers: 10%, 15%, 20%, 30%. It went up some during the pandemic. I'll give you our journey with this. Is we've had a food pantry for a good bit. The pandemic, with all of its challenges, did help us up our game in several categories. And that's a category that exemplifies it very well, because we went online. And ever since, we have spaces that students can go to. On every campus, we have food carts that we replenish 3 to 4 times a day because they get emptied that quickly. Our food pantry has meat, dairy, hygiene, as well as other canned goods, boxed goods, et cetera, across the board, baby needs, all that. We have found that our usage of it goes up every semester, not just every year, every semester. In January alone, we did what we provided food and served as many students as we did the entire fall semester. So we are almost triple what we did this semester than we did last semester. Another thing that the online aspect helped us with is that the food pantry students have to walk into, and for some of our students, they have too much pride to do that. As friendly and as safe as we try to make it, but going online helped us change our game, because we bag it, we put it all together, and we take it to them. So that helped us increase our usage a lot in supporting their needs. I think the main reason why we often lose students on their journey has to do with simple, basic things. Our retention isn't a struggle with academics. We do that really well. We have a lot of wraparound services. Our struggle is making sure, and we have all kinds of outreach, which I could talk about this for hours, to strengthen and support that student journey. But anything from getting a flat tire and that's all it takes, and they think, this is it, I can't afford it, I'm done. And we had a student that now has their master's. I'm so happy. He came and he interviewed for, talked to me about a job on campus, that he said, I was at BCTC once before, but Cooper was your main campus. And I had to use the parking meter because I can't afford a parking pass. It's very expensive on campus. That's why, we're very happy to be on Newtown. We love our partnership, but in serving our students, it's a lot. But he said, I didn't have any change. So he said, that was the day I quit. And so he left us. And he came back some years later. But so it demonstrates to me there's a very strong need there. We do constant outreach, constant phone calls. We don't wait for students to come to us. We are calling them. How are things going? What do you need? Are you experiencing any problems? And that allows us to help them with what those challenges are. And I have found in the 26 years I've been there, these challenges are they're magnifying every year. I mean, they're just growing at a crazy rate.
We have Stephanie Bell, our foundation chair, is winking at me. We have this day of giving, we actually have an emergency fund that you can donate to. We also have 16 food pantries at all of our colleges. That's a special area that if you feel in need, you can donate, feel obliged, you can donate today. I kind of feel like church. It's like it's time to pass the hat. Pass the hat.
One last question before we open it up to questions from the audience. What is one thing that you would ask of how businesses can help you help them?
We got to know your needs. One thing that our statewide workforce plan that we're going to develop through the joint resolution, one of the conclusions that I know is already going to be there is that we need to have a formal process, a call to action, maybe twice a year from our business communities that is statewide in nature. Because you take at Toyota, they're not just employing Kentuckians in central Kentucky. You have over 60 counties, people are commuting to my hometown, Georgetown, to work there. So we need to have a formal process working with the chamber and CAM and the others to say these are the skills that we need in our students These are the emerging technologies that we're going to adopt as a company, and we need your help teaching our employees how to use it. And so that's the call of action today, is that if you don't have a partnership with us yet, call this man and his incredible team here. And then at the state office, we're going to be developing a more strategic way for us to have the intake of the needs of our employers. But we've got to be nimble and responsive.
He answered it well. I mean, it's just having that connection, and we will reach out to you in another way. And I don't mean this lightly, but we need all the support we can get. And so in addition to our job is to help you, but we will meet your needs in a much more efficient way and a stronger way and impactful way if you also have the opportunity to help us. I'm starting to lose my voice. I guess it's time for me to shut up.
Let's open it up to a couple of questions. I think we still have a little bit of time for that. Anybody have a question for either President Quarles or President Feeney? Bob?
We are very excited about the Hill. It's the hub for innovative learning and leadership that's being built right in front of our very eyes, the old Herald Leader News paper building. And how will you all work with that? And I can just see this concept emerging all across the state, because this is a gold diamond, or a gold diamond. This is a diamond product for us.
So I've been very happy that Fayette County has included us in several steps of this. We are in ongoing conversations with the curriculum that's going to be offered there, where at this stage we'll be coming in at 4 o'clock, around 4 o'clock, and so for the same programs that are there, we will be offering some programming at another location. A good example of where this partnership will strengthen both of our institutions is culinary. Culinary is an expensive program to run and to create, and they're going to have that in that facility. So why would we duplicate services and those facilities at our spot? So we're going to share that location. So we're in ongoing. I have team members that are meeting with them weekly, just over the hill, as well as many other initiatives that we partner on. And I have an M serving on their search for their principal, and I'm there as a community college rep, making sure that that person has, if not experience with it, a real heart for it, and understands the importance of a connection to not just 2-year but 4-year institutions in serving a community. So we are very excited about that opportunity. I think it's going to serve our area incredibly well, and I look forward to just strengthening that partnership as it continues to grow.
I can see that expanding across the company.
Yeah, we're in the partnership business.
Other questions? Just pop up. Yes.
I was wondering, could you talk about any model states that you might be kind of informally working with, or states that are looking to Kentucky, and how that kind of conversation is working?
Yeah, so I've had the opportunity to start networking with my counterparts across the country. Other states that are similarly organized, where there's like a system office that supports the colleges, Louisiana, Virginia, are more closely aligned to what we have in Kentucky. But one thing that I've noticed is that every state's different. And let me tell you, another thing that emerged in 1997 is that we are primarily supported by the Kentucky General Assembly, tuition dollars, federal grant money that's coming through. Most community colleges in the United States are supported by a local tax. That's not the case in Kentucky. That's just a policy decision that was made a long time ago. And so there's a lot of other differentiations. I was talking to the system head of Connecticut that just went through an accreditation change, and they're supported very differently than us. And so as much as we learn from other states, we have to have a Kentucky approach. It has to be what's best for Kentucky. And the other thing is, we don't view other higher education institutions as competitors. They're all collaborators. That's another mindset that we have to embrace, is that we are the feeder program for all these other schools. And so it's important for us to have the mindset of collaboration. And look, we're a small state, big problems in Kentucky. You have to throw a rock, you can find a problem in our state. That I believe that our institution can learn from what's going on elsewhere. But I think in many ways we're already getting it right already.
Yes.
Question. Well, thank you so much for being here today, sharing everything about this wonderful system that we have, especially BCTC and Gray. Artificial intelligence versus the both the vein and threat on us. So you would describe how artificial intelligence is going to impact our future workforce and how BCTC, next KCTCS, is moving forward to address that and include that.
So we've been having these conversations for a while, and I would say rather aggressively at our institution, because it's here. And our job is to serve our students in being critical users of the technology, right? So if we think about, this is the analogy I use all the time with it, the calculator. I've been at the college long enough. I remember when faculty were freaking out over a calculator being used in a math class, right? Now it's required. And not only is it required, a particular one, all these advanced levels, yada, yada, yada. I'd say it's the same thing with AI. AI, like anything that, is knowledge, this is what I used to teach in class. Knowledge is power. You can use that power for good or evil, right? It sounds like a joke, but I mean, it's legit. Are you going to use it to advance society or something else? And so AI is a very powerful tool. Very powerful tool, and it's our job to work very closely with students so they are aware of it, they know the strengths and the weaknesses of it, the challenges with it, and the best of it. It has the opportunity to allow all of us to up our game, but we need to use it wisely.
At first, a few years ago when it was coming out, it was about how do we prevent students from cheating, okay? And but now it's about how do we teach to make this an enhancement for efficiency purposes for employees as well and for our students. And so we'll see. I was visiting Somerset a couple weeks ago and had a 3D printer there, and they were literally printing parts. This is going to be an amazing. They're building a house as well. It's 3D printed. But one of the interesting things that I picked up on is that we don't program the computer now. We just tell them what we need, and it invents the part itself. And this part came out, and I'm an engine guy. I was tearing my hands up this week working on one. And you just say what you want, and it prints it for you, and it comes out. Maybe a design that looks kind of weird, but it's functional, and that's what's kind of scary. But I think that's where we're going, and so why not be on the leading edge of a new technology and not be reactive? It's really hard for us in government and higher education to be proactive. We're always reactive. And so if there's a new industry out there, let's embrace it. Like another one right now is cybersecurity. We have a former FBI agent teaching a cybersecurity class down in West Kentucky that you don't need a 4-year degree for, but you can do it in 2 years or less. And that's an example where they saw an industry that needed a need. We were adaptive, we were reactive, we got the program set up, and now it's being delivered statewide. And high paying. Yep.
There's a question back here.
Yes. I work with a lot of contractors and construction, and I like to mentor students. I've seen a lot of students who want to go to trades. Go to GRC. My next door neighbor was #2 young weller in the state, went to a big trade school, graduated early, and the average starting salary, I pushed him about 50 job applications, was about $14 an hour. And I'm mentoring a lot of students in the same position. So how do we bridge that gap for students who want to work in trades? And there's a desperate need for tradesmen, and getting the industry to actually pay enough so they don't want to work at Chick-fil-A. I'm seeing it as a really big problem, and I don't know how to fix it.
So I'll just speak to what we're doing, and maybe you can talk in the college-wide, but we identified this a bit ago, not in many of our areas, but in some of them. And so one of our angles on addressing this problem, in addition to talking to our industry partners and when they want a particular quality, needing to invest in that quality, but we had minimal career services a couple of years ago. And we are greatly enhancing that at our institution. And our short-term goal is to support all of our internal students. The next phase of that goal is to support our internal and our alumni. The third phase of that goal, which I hope we get to quickly, and I'm looking at the team that's working on it, is where we're also supporting our community. You don't have to be an alumni, you don't have to be a student. You want access, you're not quite sure how to get there, we're going to help you with that. But part of that career process is matching our students up with solid employers, employers who have a history of investing. Because we not only want to support our industry needs, we want our students, the ones that we're serving, to have a living wage and to have a career that's going to provide for them, their family, and support their community. So that's our job. So it's not, I feel like part of it is working with those industry partners for them to up our game. Also, part of that is us working closely with other partners who are, and using them as an example, and they are going to be more likely, just in many of the industries we work with, to recruit more of our students. So if an industry partner wants to understand why they're all going to industry A and not industry B, sometimes that's one of the variables that we can share with them, and it gives them the opportunity to have a bit of knowledge to possibly up their game.
2 quick points. We have a program called Education Employers First, where if you are hiring our graduates, you want to have a partnership with us, we're going to promote the fact that as a student, you can earn and learn. You can earn a wage while you're learning, while you're working in some capacity at an employer. That's a win-win-win for us. And so that's another area where we can promote the jobs that we know are going to be paying well. Then just real quick, last night was the NFL draft, right? And so it's cool when you get to see an athlete elevate themselves either to professional sports or to college sports. You know, they put the swag on, they sign. We want to do the same thing with you. And chances are there might be some folks in this room that are already doing this. April is Community College Month. One of the neatest things that I remember even as a legislator, but now in this position that I get to witness, is when we have a student that is completing our program that has a job already lined up, we want to treat them just like that athlete. We invite the media, we have a press conference, a student signs on a dotted line with their employer standing there right next to you, handing them a company shirt or hat or tool belt or whatever it might be. That helps out everybody when we're promoting them just as much as we would an athlete that's out on their signing day. So if you'd like to be part of that experience, let us know, because it really helps create synergy with students knowing where they can go work, employers who say, look at this, come work for us. I'm not sure if they're getting $1 million signing bonus, but it's a fun thing to do, and we need to be promoting that more as well.
And if you'd like to witness one of these, you can see Dr. Erin Tipton, and she'll give you information on ours. So if you'll raise your hand real quick. And so if you just want to witness it and see what this event goes like, I encourage you to attend.
Gentlemen, thank you so much. You have been so impressive in all of your examples and what you're doing. It gives me great confidence that we have the right people in your leadership positions in the community. Thank you so much. Please help me thank our panelists.